Yo, what's up? And for once, I'm actually not doing this live at twitch.tv/DykeNXDan, which you should be following. If you're not, what are you doing? Well, with the recent news of Guilty Gear Strive 2 news coming along the way, I definitely wanted to talk about my changes that I want for Season 2 inside of Guilty Gear Strive. I definitely get asked this question a lot, but I never really went into depth exactly what I want to be changed inside of Guilty Gear Strive. Now, for the people who live under a rock and don't know, there is going to be a live broadcast that's going to happen for the first year anniversary of Guilty Gear Strive. This is going to be on the 25th, so coming up pretty soon. And it says it's going to talk about the discussion with the development team and talk about the latest information on the works for Season 2. So I'm guessing there's going to be some type of sort of things we're going to be talking about for Season 2 as far as the development and things go. I don't expect no full-blown announcements of things, but I hope that we at least get an idea of the type of direction that the development team is trying to go with the game, along with the balance changes that we can expect for Season 2. So we'll probably hopefully get a release date timing of when we can see this, and also just get a sneak peek of when this actually will happen. Now, when do I think Guilty Gear Strive Season 2 is actually going to come out? I think it's probably going to happen right after around Evo time. I don't see them actually doing a big change like this that's going to change the way people play the game prior to a big tournament that they know is going to be happening, that a lot of people are looking forward to. This will change, I guess, the results and, of course, what people do drastically. So I don't think they want to go that route. I'm pretty sure they're probably going to wait until after Evo to actually make this thing go live. Now, also get asked what characters I want to see inside Guilty Gear Strive 2. And honestly, I only really care for two characters that I want to see inside the game. I got a personal favorite of mine and one I think should be in the game based on Guilty Gear Strive story. So my personal favorite, if you know me by now, it's Elfelt Valentine. I just really love that character. One of my favorite characters I've ever played in a fighting game. Super fun character with a lot of unique tool sets and stuff like that. I know we got Happy Chaos, but they could definitely make her more unique in a different route than like another, gun user that he is. But he has multiple different ways of guns and different stances and stuff like that. I think she could definitely find her way inside of the game. I mean, we got multiple sword users. We can have two gun users. I mean, come on. And the story character I want inside the game is going to be that man, aka Asuka. Definitely should be inside the game. I mean, this is going to be a very prominent character inside of the Guilty Gear Strive story, and this is some character that I think should definitely be inside of the roster for Guilty Gear Strive Season 2. I'm surprised he's not in there for Season 1, but hey, we got a fan favorite character, Biken, and then of course we're going to be getting some other characters in Strive 2 Season 2, and he should definitely be one of the characters that's going to be coming from this version of the game and not a pre-existing character. Now, after those two, you can honestly go wild. I don't care what you do at that point. You could bring all the characters, you could bring all the fan favorites. You could bring the Jams, the Abbas. I guess I would like to see Bridget too, but that's just another personal favorite. But besides that, you can bring pretty much anybody else. I really don't care at that point. Now, getting into the actual main topic of today's discussion, the real changes I want to see for Guilty Gear Strive. And I think the main things I really want to see are system changes, right? There's strong characters in the game, and the strong characters in the game, I feel, are like from the act of accessibility within this game. This game is very strike throw heavy, and a lot of accessibility is what they were trying to go for when it came to this game. So a lot of characters feel like they're doing almost the same thing. Pressure structures in the game are pretty unified as far as like how Gatlings work. So it's a lot of the same thing. From close slash, what characters are going to have certain options. They're going to have their command normals. They're going to have access to their 2D. They're going to have access to their 2S. So you probably got you're gonna get hit by the close slash mid. They're probably going to delay into the low, or they can go for a throw. Like you kind of all know, but it's just some characters do these options much better and also get more reward off these options. So the reward is better. Yes, they're gonna get a throw, but I'm saying some of these characters are also gonna have better risk gauge build up. So they're gonna be doing this type of pressure. They're gonna build up your risk gauge much more, and they're gonna do a lot more damage to you, much better than some of the characters. I think that's what truly separates the bad characters from the good characters in this game, because everybody can seemingly win in this game. It's just there are a lot more consistencies when it comes to actually winning with the stronger characters. Like, for example, even the weaker characters in the game, like a Jacko or say like an Anji, they can get a top 8 inside of this game. But as far as like winning tournaments consistently, you probably won't see that. But as far as getting a top 8, these characters will definitely run you. They definitely have some strong things about them. It's just the other characters just do the things that they are doing much better because of the accessibility route. We took out the tools and the utility of characters to make this sort of homogenized sort of feeling almost when it comes to some characters. And yes, while every character has their own uniqueness as far as like how they actually get to this like sort of homogenous feel of the pressure and structure and stuff like that, it is still almost, like I said, the sameness as far as like how things work. It's just some characters are better at doing it. Some characters are better at doing the risk gauge build up, and some characters are better at doing strike throw while really making it hurt. So overall, the development team idea for accessibility has sort of made other character archetypes feel a little bit weaker in the game. Like you take like, you know, Axel, he's okay, but he definitely has like some polarizing matchups. And then like there's Eno, you know, she's supposed to be the set play character, also has like a few polarizing matchups, but that's completely different because of like how her movement and stuff works. But then there's Milia, and Milia is bad because of certain things inside the game. Like, you know, they really don't want set play to be strong. And then of course we have the wall, her damage output. And then speaking of damage, which is another thing to talk about, damage in the game is very high. Now I know, and we know that they said that they want this to be a very high damage game, but I think just toning down the damage a little bit, especially for certain characters, would definitely make the game overall feel a lot more consistent across the board. And I think one thing that people forget all the time is how much damage you actually get off risk gauge, right? So we lower the damage a little bit, and then the risk gauge damage is still there. The damage may probably feel the same as if, you know, as it is right now. It will only happen when you have like the risk gauge, and this will give like, you know, a little bit more opportunities and stuff like that. Because with some of the characters, especially when you make them a lot more simpler to play in this type of environment with this type of accessibility of the game, it makes some of the characters a little bit stronger with these game plans. Like I said, because of the accessibility, the strong, easy characters in this sense definitely feel like very oppressive and stuff like that, and you know people are definitely going to go to something like that, and that's why it's strong in the game at the moment. So I believe that the developers considered the damage output of the game while also looking at the utility and the options that characters have within the game. We will have a game that still has this sense of accessibility, but also allows for people to not have to feel like they have to play multiple characters within this game, because some matchups just feel too volatile because of how the game strength and how the accessibility of the game is at the moment. You want to play a certain character like Milia, well, you will have to pick up another character. And some characters don't really have to do this if you're playing like, you know, some of the best. Like even some of the better characters like Nagoriyuki can struggle in certain matchups, and even Ramlethal and stuff like that. But for the most part, you're playing those characters, you're pretty much okay. But if you're playing something of the like lower end, then you definitely have to pick up like a secondary character inside of this game because of how bad certain matchups just feel. Like even though the matchup may be like no worse than a 4-6 or something like that, it feels like a really bad 4-6 inside of this game, right? And it's just because of the way this game is actually meant to be played. So giving characters more options is definitely a plus, and of course this will allow for more uniqueness, and people don't have to play multiple characters. Now the last thing, of course, that I want to talk about is going to be the IB system in this game. Now if they do change the way IB works in this game, yes, they would have to change a lot of the frame data, but as it stands now, it is something that is very strong if you can pull it off, but it's extremely hard to do reliably in the game. Like there are people that can do it pretty well, and there's some people that can do it almost consistently, but the things that it allows for, if you can do this, will change the way things work inside the game. Now at the moment, it is around 2 frames for you to be able to get a instant block. So if they change that, I want to say for like at least, I want to say 1 to 2 more frames of leniency, that will definitely help it out a lot. Like I said, this game is definitely revolved around minus frames. So if they do something like this, frame data for certain things will definitely have to change in a different factor because of how they change the IB system. But I think this will be a better way to deal with the game because of how strike throw heavy it is. While the defense feels a little bit lackluster in some senses, this will definitely help with those type of problems and allow for people to actually play a more active defensive game. And the last change I almost forgot to mention is I want there to be a macro for FD in this game. It feels very weird for there not to be a macro for that, which is a very important mechanic, because there's sometimes where you try to FD but instead you get a button. There's always been a macro for FD inside of Guilty Gear, and for Strive not to have it is very weird. You know, we have a macro for a taunt button, but we don't have a macro for a very important type of mechanic inside the game. So please give us an FD macro. Besides those things, I really got nothing else really to say. You know, obviously we could talk about character balances, but of course they will do the balance changes as they see fit. I really think the core problems of the game is within the systems itself, not actually the character. So we fixed the system. That will be more beneficial to the game overall than just nerfing and buffing characters. I truly feel that way. Overall, this is the very first good iteration of Guilty Gear Strive. I mean, this game could have turned out a lot worse, but of course we came out with a fairly decently balanced game for the most part that is playable in a sense, as far as like every character has at least a chance to win, just not as consistently as some others. You know, it could be worse. Overall, I'm really happy with this first season of Guilty Gear Strive, and I cannot wait to see what season 2 brings and more seasons in the future, because I cannot wait to see, you know, just looking back at the end of this game cycle and saying like, man, look at where we started and look at how this game is now, and just comparing the two and seeing how far this game truly came, because this game already is amazingly fun. And I can only imagine it's going to get better over time. So yeah, kudos to the team for making a good game at the moment. And hopefully it just gets better over time and not worse. Please Please not worse. Anyway, let me know down in the comments below what you want to see change for season 2 of Guilty Gear Strive. What characters you want, what type of balance changes you want, what type of nerfs and buffs you want for characters. Let me all know down in the comments below. As always, if you like anything I had to say, drop me a like. I really appreciate it. And if you want more from me, all in my socials. Also, don't forget to subscribe and turn notifications so you know the next video goes live. As always, my name is Daikin, and I'll see you next time. Signing out.